Yes, Magnus, you're welcome. Who
Thank
are
you.
you? Just tell me who you are.
I'm Magnus Arfors. I think I'm a nerd too, Per.
We love
As
nerds.
you
Should we give
mentioned,
all
thank
the
you for your
nerds in the
presentation.
world applause? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Might be a beta version as well.
Beta version, we're all beta versions, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm so interested in listening
Thank
to you, and we will get a chance to ask some questions afterwards as well. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me here today. I'm one of the founders of One Reality, and we actually, I wouldn't say that we are working with virtual reality as such. We are actually developing quality experiences. And that's my most important message here today is actually not very complicated. It is actually how we can create value through quality experiences for individuals and for businesses and organizations. I'm going to walk you through some examples first about what I mean with a quality experience. We have two people here. One of them know more than I do. This is me. That's the knowledgeable person here. And we have an interface here. And normally, many of you have read books, right? You have learned about different complex things in books. The question is if you would choose the book if you had the opportunity to choose a quality experience about something that is complex. And I gradually, Per, became a nerd during the 90s when I saw those first silicon graphics. They were really powerful, actually as powerful as one of these phones are today. And I saw the first visualizations. And since I'm an engineer, when I was at the university, we studied something called mechanics, with things coming through the air in different paths. And we did diagrams in 2D to describe the 3D motion in free space. And I thought to myself when I saw the first visualization, this should be done in 3 dimensions, alive and kicking. And I gradually became this nerd pair during the 90s there. I'm going to talk a little bit about medicine and physiology, especially physiology, not so much anatomy. This is a kidney, micro level, in the nephron. This capillary is here letting the primary urine out from the blood flow. And when you get close, this is now a scene from a virtual reality scene, a frame from a virtual reality scene. You're just standing in front of it and you actually can almost touch it and understand it. This is another example, white blood cells. You know, on my way here today, I thought to myself, a cell in my body is very little. But then I realized it just depends on how big I am. If I'm small, the cell is big. Imagine a cell as big as the Globe Arena in Stockholm. You go inside the cell wall and you stand inside this huge globe and you look inside. And you see one of those components in the cell. It's called a ribosome, I think it is. And that ribosome would in comparison be big as a hamburger. But I can still examine the hamburger if I'm that little myself. I'm going to come back to that. This is another scene. This is a frame from a real VR scene. And you can actually touch this and see it moving. And I assure you, it's a fantastic feeling to stand inside, seeing this, being able to touch it, maybe even being able to do simulations with them. This is a little film clip from, it's another company that I once founded as well. This company is called Sensavis, and this is now a simulation of cell division, fertility, the beginning of life, that you can experience in a very different way. This is not a film. It's an interactive environment, actually. Same with the heart. This is not anatomy anymore. This is actually pumping, not here, but it is pumping. You can change the heart rate. You can go inside. You can see the chambers. Same company still. I mentioned the kidney before. This is just a film export from an interactive environment.
Shaped structures that together comprise somewhat less than 0.5% of our total body weight.
So someone is now sitting here running this presentation interactively. You can choose where you want to go. It's a non-linear presentation format. And you can experience, you can investigate, you can go behind the next corner, you can be curious, you can feel the passion.
Designed to convert blood filtrate into urine.
And I assure you, when you have done this, in this case, you know much more about the kidneys and their functionality in micro levels. We'll move on. Okay, so I'm going to come back to another example of quality experience. But what's the benefit? That's very important. I mean, virtual reality is not just about a cool experience. What's the benefit? How do we create value? And this is an interesting example, actually. Same as the kidney, really, but the lungs. We go down on micro levels and we educate patients in a lung disease called COPD. It's unfortunately too common. And they use this to induce the patients to educate themselves, learn more about their conditions and how to take care of themselves. And it's a scientific study going on right now. I think it's going to be finalized just in a couple of weeks. And I can tell you the results are very promising. Another example is, turn down the volume a little bit because it's in Swedish. So this is another example where you use virtual reality. He's a doctor here. He can train using haptic devices, virtual reality, in order to train up the skills in the whole team's ability to communicate. Because when an operation goes wrong, it's often about lack of communication. 60% of the cases, lack of communication. So that is what they are now training. So you are actually in a sort of real environment with other people with you inside virtual reality. You are under very stressful conditions. And a lot of things are happening all the time, and you get stressed. And you need to show here that you can operate a hip and do that right. At the same time, do the communication right. Look at the instruments. Everything you need to know about the patient. Do the right thing. And it's very stressful. Today, they say there is no really good and cheap method to do this training. You need to do it on real patients or in special training environments where you don't have much throughput to people. Creating value. And here's another example. Okay. Nu kan vi ta upp ljudet. You've heard about the
One Reality is a
the
Swedish
building
company
industry
producing full virtual reality
accidents.
experiences for education, training and urban planning. In sustainable urban development, we assist in all the stages of the process, facilitating communication of both visions and the projects.
During this work, we have identified an important area where we know VR has a very promising potential.
Construction sites are complex and often dangerous environments. And with workers from many different countries, the need for efficient communication is extra important.
Despite current efforts by the industry to reduce risk, there are still too many accidents, resulting in both suffering and costs. For this reason, there is a strong need to prioritize efficient education for all workers involved.
We believe there is a global and significant potential for hands-on training in VR environments. where dangerous situations can be simulated in a lifelike and dramatic manner. By experiencing stressful scenarios in VR, you will be more prepared if it happens in real life.
For this reason, One Reality is developing a flexible training platform in VR that mirrors a construction site in full operation where various scenarios are scripted. This is also done in a way that limits the need for language, which makes it easier for people from different nationalities and cultures.
Also, the Swedish Construction Federation.
We'll move on here. I mean, it's a significant problem. Safety, building sites, and you've heard about it around the world. Even though Sweden is actually quite aware of this and we are doing a lot of preventive work, it's still double as common with accidents on building sites today. And the purpose with all this is to find a method to train co-workers in how to behave and what to think about. So they need to go through lifelike scenarios where accidents actually happen and then train how to handle that. That is something that you can do in virtual reality. You mentioned earlier Silicon Valley. We do some work with Stanford Research Institute. We also have a little office in San Francisco. And I just wanted to also mention AR, augmented reality, and what we can use that for. And I'm going to take an example from them. Let's see.
AR Mentor, my Husqvarna leaf blower is running a little rough. What should I do?
It sounds like we should do general maintenance. First, let's check the air filter. For easy access, face the blower on the side with the air filter assembly. Now, unscrew the filter cover, thumb screws highlighted. Once unscrewed, remove the air filter cover. Remove the filter and inspect it. If it looks clogged, old, or damaged, replace it with a new filter.
AR Mentor, my
So you get the point. I mean, and I'm not, I think some artificial intelligence could be involved in this too. But this is, imagine all the installations you have in different places, and you can just go there and you need some information and you use your iPad or the HoloLens or what have you to get the information in real time, and then you do something, and then the system understands where you are at, and then it gives you more information. So that's, of course, going to revolutionize that type of maintenance work and other things. If you come across needs or people wondering about VR and quality experiences and how to create value, it's very important to understand that it's not just about the production and test of the software or the content. It's as much about being able to identify the needs and see applications and to be able to design towards messages, what have you. I mean, what is your business model? What is the subject? What is it that we're trying to explain? That phase is extremely important so that the design phase can create a manual for the production phase that then ends in the implementation phase, because we need to implement to secure that we create value. Another thing with VR content is that it can easily become a growing asset over time that you put on your balance sheet, because you can use it for so many different things. You can export how many different pictures you want of good quality and print it in your brochure if you want to. You can export films. You can export AR applications. You can export 360 films, put it on the website. So it's actually very cost efficient. Talking about sustainability, my last, I don't know how I am in time and things like that. Okay. Sustainability is very important to us. We are passionate about knowledge transfer, of course, and competence development, using quality experience. I can't today say exactly what it is about, but it's going to be a new initiative has been taken recently to build and design the city of the future, or the city of today actually, fully sustainable, with really high demands on sustainability where we haven't seen anywhere today yet. Planetary boundaries, the room we have to live in with acceptable living conditions, but not outside the planetary boundaries. And this is a typical potential use of virtual reality, and that is why we have been involved in this. It's not just about you all have seen probably apartments and buildings in 360 and virtual reality that you can walk around in them, and that is of course going to be part of this. But more to the point, we are going to visualize all the aspects of true sustainability. I mean, sustainable education, sustainable business, integration, social aspects. We're going to bring Unity, your electrical vehicles, Andre. Things like that, no fossil fuels. All those aspects. And why are we doing this? Because our client wants to build everything in VR first, together with different teams, in order to first create the total experience in VR. Make it available as a quality experience to the world, so that we can discuss around something, so we can develop something, open innovation together. A typical, I think, positive use of the quality experience and VR. And it's not going to be static. This is going to be the city body physiology, where everything is alive and pumping, and we have all the opportunities to do simulations, and we can look at the different flows, and we can do almost anything in there. Maybe we can even feel the smell of the leaves, and hear the birds. Okay, so that was about quality experience and how we can use it to create value. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, any questions? Great.
First of all, thank you for an amazing presentation.
Welcome.
I had a chance to speak with Sheridan for a long while, and so the promise of what you're bringing is amazing. And so one of the points that kind of resonated in our conversation and what you shared with us today is that the ability to see the world through the lens of somebody else, or the ability to see the world through actually what it's like to be there. And wanted to get your thoughts on what that means in terms of creating a more compassionate society, to be able to understand the world from another viewpoint or another expertise. That's my question.
Okay, can you repeat the question, please?
The question is that because of this environment, we have the ability to step into somebody else's shoes, somebody who is on the ground in another environment. How does that possibly translate to us understanding each other better, because we can understand somebody else's context because of this technology?
Well, I would say the true value in this is that we create the same goal picture. We can share the same thinking. It's not that we are all having our own pictures in our minds about something. We can have something concrete to work around. Like Unity, when they developed the cars, they do that in virtual reality, and then you can make it red, make it orange, or like what you do the same thing when you're standing in a kitchen and you want to test the different colors of the floor and everything. You can do that. I think we foresee a significant value in being able to work together in the same environment, share the same scene, activate open innovation. We are using tools that are commercially available globally. So we can ask people to come with contributions, and we can implement them in the same scene. We can have different scenarios in the same scene that you can just change. So the buildings, they change, and the flows and traffic, or how do we produce the energy? How do we save the energy? How do we produce the water? How is healthcare taken care of? And how do we do the knowledge transfer? All this in one package, and then invite the world. I don't know if I answered your question. Long answer.
You did, and this is a deeper topic of really where, as we're co-creating the future, there's many opportunities to solve complex problems. And so I see what you're bringing as very valuable, if not integral to that conversation. So thank you for your answer, but there's much more.
Thank you.
I see this as very valuable when it comes to me helping my kids with their homework. If I could have the system at home, I was going through with my daughter the respiratory system and the blood system and all this, and I tried to draw this, by hand. I'm like, can you see this is the brain, this is the spinal cord, and she's like, yeah, maybe, mom, but what's the point, If I could have this at home, perfect. I think it's an important health issue to actually understand what's happening within this sort of shell that we have when we eat and what kind of systems we have. So this is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this with us today.
Welcome.
Thank you. So, a big applause.
Thank you.